Hey, what's up? This is Brother Ali. You're checking out Hard Knock TV. I love these guys. Stay here.
When innocent people perish, it's a very thin line between a soldier and a terrorist. Murder, murder, kill, kill, kill. Death and destruction, a cap get peeled. On the hill, destroy and rebuild. Shots still ring out and blood still spill.
This is a great opportunity, and I feel like too many of us are missing it. Too many of us who are protected by racism. And you know, I didn't write that article. That was actually an interview that the guy just wrote everything I said, and he did a great job. But a lot of the responses that I get to that are like, why are you lumping yourself in? Why should all white people have to take have to be, you know, held accountable for what some white people did back in the days? And the reality is that it wasn't just slavery and it wasn't just Jim Crow, but we have a legacy of this, and we're connected to it, and we're protected by racism. Racism is giving us an unfair advantage actively, and so we should and subconsciously we all know it. Subconsciously, everybody that you know isn't suspected or isn't held down because of race, subconsciously we know that that's the truth, and it lives in us. Either it lives down deep in us and we develop a sense of guilt about it, and that guilt is what makes us lash back in that way. That guilt is what makes us say, well, what about black on black crime? Well, you know, this guy got caught smoking weed, you know. That's the guilt, because it's unacknowledged, and we're at its mercy. We're at the mercy of that guilt if it's just a subconscious thing. But if we bring it to the surface, talk about it, be self-loving enough, be courageous enough to talk about it and really start to understand what it means, and say, I'm going to confront the truth, I'm going to wrestle with the truth, and I'm going to choose what kind of person I am, regardless of what I end up finding about myself. Because what we end up finding about ourselves is that we are the beneficiaries of a whole lot of terrible shit. We're the beneficiaries of centuries of you know, crimes against humanity, and we still are. I still am. We all still are. And we have to be self-loving enough to say, to come out of that guilt and move into the area of responsibility, to take responsibility for it. Let's not let ourselves off the hook so easy, you know. And also, there's something with this idea that you know, white people are talking about this. So why should I be held accountable? It's like for the idea or that reaction that a white person would feel, that you know, the possibility that I would be judged by what somebody in my group did is against God. Like, this is the word, I can't believe this and I won't stand for it. You know, the idea of this word reverse racism, this word race baiting, all of these are symbols that a lot of us have not really thought about race or confronted race and racism and injustice and our own privilege in a real meaningful, adult, mature way. That we've just never done that. We've never done that work. We've never had that internal kind of conversation. And so when somebody, and we don't deal with it because we're not forced to. The real definition of privilege, my friend Self Divine told me, the real definition of how you know you're in a privileged position is when you don't have to think about something. Anything you don't have to think about is your privilege. You know, so I call a homegirl of mine to sing on a song with me, and I asked her to be in the video and asked her to be the pretty, you know, she's the girl in the video. And as a dude, I never really think about like what it means for her to be a pretty girl in a video. You know what I mean? I just say, oh, you're pretty when you want to be in the video. And for her as an artist, she has this whole world to deal with of like, well, if I'm just pretty in the video, do they forget about the fact that I write music and play the piano and sing my own songs? Oh yeah, I never had to think about that. That's privilege. You know, the fact that you know, I'm legally blind, so you know, the stairs and how to get somewhere. I'm albino, so the sunlight, you know, and what time does the sun go down, and how long does my you know, all this stuff going. That stuff you guys don't have to think about. So that's a privilege that you have, you know, and we all are privileged in some ways and oppressed in others, but we have not had that conversation, and these things aren't going to change because people who are forced into this conversation have been having it for years. And all of the greatest people that stand up for justice in communities of color hold themselves accountable. All of the great ones. Martin Luther King held America accountable, but also held black people accountable. Malcolm X was a great example of that. Out of all the scathing condemnations and critiques that Malcolm gave of white America, I mean, I think that we get so caught up in that we don't hear everything he was saying to black America as well, about these people are never going to solve your problems. We have to solve our own problems. We have to have this internal conversation and figure out how to solve our own problems, how to be acceptable to ourselves. Don't worry about whether or not white people love you. Let's love ourselves. You know, Farrakhan, the Young Lords, Leonard Peltier, you know, all of these people have had the conversation, this moral conversation of critiquing America and also calling for the best in their own communities. But we've not had that. The privileged, dominant culture, we have not had that. And it's with very, very few exceptions. Very few exceptions, I feel like. I could start naming a few names, but I feel like every generation's maybe had one. And we don't listen to them. And, you know, but I think that this is a unique time because we are being forced into this conversation because America's not going to be majority white for much longer. We have maybe one generation of majority white, and then after that it's not going to be the case anymore. And so we can't, last sentence I promise, and so we can't sustain a country where half or more than half of the citizens come from this legacy of being held out of the mainstream. You know what I mean? Held out of, you know, and forcibly kept back by this social program that we have of racism and oppression. So if our society, if we really care about our country, if we really care about our society, then we need to have some real serious conversations about ourselves and start developing some equity. I think the idea of equity is what we're missing. We're so about diversity. We get caught up on diversity. We get caught up on political correctness. But what we're looking for is equity, for everybody to live a complete, dignified life as complete human beings and as complete communities and neighborhoods and families and, you know, etc.